Thanks for tuning in. If you're watching on YouTube, be sure to hit the subscribe button to stay up to date on all of our latest video content. If you're watching on LocalGov TV, be sure to visit their website to see all of the content made for you by your local governments. Alamance County is pleased to present the Alamance County Commissioners Meeting.
4th. And the invocation and the Pledge of Allegiance is Commissioner Thompson.
Okay. We have in God we trust. It just can't be a bunch of words on a wall. We have to really believe that in everything we do. And if you look around this world, we're really in trouble. Otherwise going in 100 different ways. And we just kind of get our focus back. So bow your heads, please. Heavenly Father, I just want to thank you for this room of people that care to be here. I just ask you, Lord, to always keep us focused on you. And all of our decisions that we make them strong through prayer. And use your boldness to always do the right thing. I pray that you will forgive this world so many sins, God, that your Son gave his life for. I pray you will just help us to lead and lead righteously in the way you would have us to lead. In your name I pray. Amen. Stand for the pledge. I pledge
allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you.
Next, we need approval of the agenda.
Motion to approve.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay. Now we have the public comments. You have 3 minutes to, I'm sorry, proclamation first. I almost forgot this one. And this one's really important because this touches very close to all of our hearts here for one of our members who has passed away. So this is the proclamation for ALS. A lot of people consider it to be Lou Gehrig's disease because I think he was the one that actually it was diagnosed and given a name. So I'm going to read that for you. Whereas the amyotrophic lateral sclerosis, commonly known as Lou Gehrig's disease, is a progressive neurodegenerative disease that affects nerve cells that control movement. This disease impacts the brain and spinal cord, leading to muscle weakness, loss of mobility, and loss of life. And whereas the average survival time after diagnosis is 2 to 5 years, and whereas ALS can impact anyone and currently has no known cause, means of prevention, or a cure, making diagnosis difficult. And whereas individuals living with ALS, their families, and their caregivers face significant challenges requiring compassionate care, education, and community support. And whereas increased public awareness and research funding are vital to improving quality of life for those affected to advancing the search for treatment and a cure. And whereas securing access to new therapies, durable medical equipment, communication technologies is essential for people living with ALS. And whereas healthcare providers, organizations, and individuals across the nation work to provide resources, raise awareness, and offer hope to those impacted by ALS. Therefore, be it resolved that we, the Alamance County Board of Commissioners, do hereby proclaim May as the Amyotrophic Lateral Sclerosis Awareness Month in Alamance County to raise awareness and encourage all citizens to support those affected by this disease. This is the 6th day of May, 2026. Okay.
Today's the 4th.
I know, and it says the 6th. But is that when it actually starts? Yeah, starts the 1st. Yeah, because I said it's May the 4th, so.
Change that on there.
Yeah. I think we were going to do it last month, and then we realized it was this month. So we held off on it. Okay. So now this is public comments. You have 3 minutes to speak. And if you'll just take the podium, state your name and your address as you step up to speak, we'd appreciate it. First one is Peter Childress.
It's Peter Childers, 8718 Morrill Mill Road, Mebane. Commissioners, today I'm speaking about a mega development of approximately 1,000 homes proposed for our small, quiet, rural, mostly farming, low-density community along Morrill Mill Road. We are here this morning to ask for your help. However, I'm under no illusion that you will attempt to help us because the county has stacked the rules against existing residents. The county does not even have the courtesy to inform surrounding property owners when massive changes like this are proposed. We have lived in Alamance County for 30 years and seen successive county commissioners refuse to enact even modest land development control that would marginally protect existing residential landowners from incompatible land use. The constituents that commissioners do help are developers, builders, and contractors. The rest of us are left to our own fate, powerless to protect the properties we have built. We've repeatedly seen incompatible land uses allowed next to residential communities without regard for property values or the quiet enjoyment residents have grown to value. Here are some major impacts of this development will have on local residents. Water use for a family of 4 will be approximately 350 gallons per day per household, which means 10,500,000 gallons per month drawn from commercial wells in this development. The numbers are staggering. Who is going to assure, even compensate existing homeowners if their relatively shallow wells run dry? Will the developer? Will the county? Who will help us? Will commissioners? Traffic is expected to be about 10,000 trips per day onto a 2-lane rural secondary road that is light surface over gravel, not meant for this type of usage. The added load to Highway 54 rush hour will choke an already overstressed commute of an unbroken line of traffic in the morning and evening. This does not include delivery and service vehicles. There are also costs to the county and taxpayers. This is not the proverbial win-win development. The county estimates the Alamance landfill to last to 2038, but the county better recalculate that estimate and prepare for another landfill and the ensuing fight with another local community. Present fire protection, local schools, and policing will not be sufficient to service the community with existing resources. How is sewage and runoff going to be handled in the Haw River watershed and floodplain? These are only a few important considerations for the county and its taxpayers. We are not, and I repeat, we are not anti-development. But why does the county perpetuate an adversarial relationship between residents, developers, and builders when thoughtful yet land use controls would allow a better fit for everyone? And I'd like this entered into the record. Can I do that, or is it necessary?
You're videoed and what you said is in the record.
It is? All
Yes,
right.
sir.
Fair enough.
Thank you. The next person to speak is Stuart Smith.
Good morning, Commissioners. My name is Stuart Smith, and I'm reside in Mebane. Recent discussions about the possibility of Commissioners placing the Article 46 1/4 cent sales and use tax on the ballot at the next election cycle piqued my interest. Current statistics show that 1/4 of 1 cent of sales tax in Alamance County would generate about $7.5 million. This is equivalent to about 3 cents on a property tax bill for Alamance County voters. Why have Alamance County voters rejected this 4 times in the past? Is it because they prefer a property tax increase instead? Or is it because perhaps they don't clearly understand it? A phone call to the North Carolina Sales and Use Tax of the North Carolina Department of Revenue recently was very enlightening. After much research and many phone calls, I finally reached a director with the Department of Revenue, Mr. Ed Strickland. A director was very honest and open with me. I mentioned I was from Alamance County and obviously interested in the quarter-cent sales and use tax. I asked Mr. Strickland what the common denominator was in the counties that had placed it on the ballot and been successful. Mr. Strickland stated from his observation that the counties that had voters approve it had a tangible designation for the purpose of the funds. Most often it was schools, but some earmarked the quarter-cent for parks or other needs, perhaps a courthouse that people saw a need for. I also asked and clarified what we are paying as sales tax in Alamance County currently. A recent purchase of a $1 item reflected the price of the item at $1.07. The 4.75 sales tax required by North Carolina, in addition to the 2% tax required by Alamance County, was the earmarked amount of tax. The 1/4 cent not earmarked for state or county taxes, where does it go? Obviously, the merchant cannot refund me 1/4 cent. The purchase price of the item would not have changed. We would just be reappropriating the 1/4 cent sales tax to Alamance County instead of North Carolina. Mr. Strickland stated that he had observed counties put the 1/4 cent sales and use tax on the ballot. He stated that counties had approved it, had the full support of the commissioners. While commissioners cannot lobby for passage, a commissioner can answer questions about how it would be used in the county. As a footnote, I went back in after this dollar purchase and purchased something for $2 even. Walgreens is the best merchant that I have found for itemizing out. It was 13.5 cents, but I was taxed 14. In this case, I sent a half a penny in addition to the state. Thank you for listening.
Thank you. And I have Michelle, I'm going to kill this last name, Harrison.
Good morning. I'm Michelle Aronson. I live at 4500 Lloydtown Road. I'm here to speak today specifically regarding my concerns about the proposed housing development on Morrow Mill. I have a lot of concerns, but specifically I want to talk about some serious water quality issues in the immediate vicinity of the proposed development. I'm a vegetable farmer and a mom of 2 young kids, and our family lives in a 100-year-old farmhouse on Lloydtown Road, located 1 mile away from the proposed development. We love where we live. We're surrounded by rolling farmland on a quiet country road, and our farm feeds over 30 local families each week with fresh organic produce. Like many in our community, we rely on well water. A few years after moving onto our farm in 2019, we tested our well water, and what we discovered was terrifying. The nitrate levels in our water were more than double the legal limit set by the FDA and EPA, and they were the highest that the company servicing our well had ever seen. The FDA set strict limits for nitrates in drinking water with a maximum contaminant level of 10 milligrams per liter. This matters because high levels of nitrates in drinking water can cause a condition in infants called blue baby syndrome, a potentially fatal condition where the blood cannot carry enough oxygen through the body. Long-term exposure to high nitrate levels in water in adults has also been associated with colorectal cancer, thyroid disease, birth defects, and miscarriages. The #1 source of nitrates in well water is from chemical fertilizer runoff from farming operations, which is exactly how the land surrounding our farm and this proposed development has been used for generations. When we first had our well water tested, I had an infant at home. We were forced to spend thousands of dollars on a water treatment system just to make our water safe to drink, and we continue to test it every year. This is not an isolated issue. At our community meeting last week, a nearby resident who also lives just a few miles from the proposed development site reported similarly high nitrate levels in her family's well water. Given the deep history of agricultural land use on this Morrow Mill property, it is very likely that the well water at the proposed development will also have dangerous levels of nitrates. What, if any, testing protocol and long-term safeguards are being put in place to ensure safe well water for current and future residents in our community? This is not theoretical. This is a real, urgent public health concern, and it deserves serious attention. Thank you.
Thank you. Henry Vines.
I got hand down.
Your daughter's such a teacher. Classmates.
Good morning, Commissioners. My name is Henry Vines, live at 3450 Isley Drive. I seen this on Facebook, and I just thought it was fitting that it just expressed how Alamance County is going. And I would like to just read what it says here. North Carolina was never meant to be rushed. It is the back roads winding through the pine trees and the rolling hills, the quiet mornings that where air feels different, the mountains in the distance, the coast stretching out forever, the small towns with single roads can tell a whole story. That's North Carolina people fall in love with. Not because of the loudness, not because it feels good, but slowly, the views starting to change, the open lands getting to be filled in, and the places that once felt like North Carolina starting to look like everywhere else. Rows of identical houses, same streets, same layouts, same everything. Growth isn't the problem. Forgetting what made a place special is. North Carolina doesn't need to trade its character to move forward and doesn't need to replace very quiet stretches with something copies and paste. Because what made North Carolina special was never how fast it changed. It was the mountains, the coast, the back roads, and the feeling in between. And once that's gone, you can't build it back. This applies here to Alamance County too. This is our community. I was born and raised here, as many of you were. We need something to protect the citizens of Alamance County, the rural part. It's up to you as commissioners to help do that. There's going to be three things that voters are going to have on their minds when they go to the polls this fall. That's one, property taxes and the high property taxes that we're facing. Two, landfills. And three, developments. I urge you, as you move forward through this next 6 months, that you take this into account, because 3 of you are up for election and there could be 3 new faces. Thank you for your attention and appreciate your time.
Thank you. Okay, so the commissioners have 3 minutes to answer back if you would like to answer to anyone who made comments. Commissioner Thompson? What are you thinking?
Well, I spent Tuesday night with a great group of people out on the farm, and y'all know how I feel. So, we hear all the time, I don't want anybody to tell me what I can do with my land. I don't either, but I also don't want something that can move in beside your land to really limit. I think local government would be wise to have a little bit more in that game instead of it always seeming to bypass us and the state gets a permit and it's done. So that's just how I feel, because any new development, there's so much more that goes with that that's on the county, that's on the taxpayer. So I said this last meeting, we're going to keep having this if we don't get some kind of something in stone, so to speak. So,
Commissioner Powell?
We have had quite a few issues that have come up that are concerning zoning of property and land use. And this is something that's continuing as we continue to grow as a community. At the present time, the feeling that I've gotten from talking to people is that most people are opposed, or the majority of people are opposed to land use planning, zoning. As we continue to grow, that may change. But with the situation we have right now, there are rules and regulations. There's unified development plans, and it gives us some tools to work with. Some items have been brought up this morning concerning water use and police and fire and how long the landfill is going to last and so forth. And those are things that we need to take into consideration. So I appreciate those being brought up. And there's other issues that we're looking at for land use planning. On the quarter-cent sales tax, that's something that's been put on the ballot, I believe, 4 times and turned down. But I think the idea that having a tangible use of those revenues identified and having a unified voice between the commissioners and the school board people. And if we can all get together, then that makes sense to give consideration to that. And I hope that we will talk about that some more and perhaps do something about that. And I think the 3 cents on the tax rate that it would replace is pretty close to being accurate. And I would like personally to see if we can get that passed, that money would be set aside for schools. That would be my what I'd like to see.
And I also met with about 100 residents out at Morrow Mill Road, and my grandparents and my father was raised on a farm, and I am for protecting our farmland. And it's like it's been mentioned here before, no one wants zoning until it affects them, and then they want the zoning. One thing about the quarter-cent sales tax, I brought that up, I think the first night I was here, because of the amount of money it will bring in. And if I'm not mistaken, when it was on the ballot last time that it was turned down, was it not with the school bond?
It was.
And that was a way for us to pay for the school bond. Now, the taxpayers, it was turned down. So now the taxpayers are paying for the school bond instead of the quarter-cent sales tax. And the 7.5 or 8 million is accurate on how much it would bring in. That's now. Can you imagine once Buc-ee's gets here? That's going to really be a huge increase on that. And one man stood up and he said, rather than getting $300 or $400 additional onto my property tax, he said, it doesn't go on food, it doesn't go on groceries, and it doesn't go on medicine. And that's most senior citizens' major concern of where they're spending their money and being taxed on. And I think it is a good idea that we state, even though we can't vote on it, is my understanding, that the money will go to the school system, which would save us a lot of money also out of our budget, besides helping the school system. We are, very interested in the water. We are in a severe drought in North Carolina. There's 8 counties that are staying under a burning ban, and we're one of them. And my pond is the lowest I have ever seen it in 25 years. So we really are in a drought, and we need to be protective of our water and our resources. Commissioner Carter?
You can't get more dedicated to the use of the sales tax than we were in 2018. That's the last time it was on the ballot. I campaigned really, really hard. That was my first time to run for county commissioner, and I supported the sales tax at that time. And folks, it's disheartening to see how many times I had conversations with people about the sales tax and the issues that Commissioner Allen just mentioned. I mean, it's not on groceries, it's not on gasoline. I had a conversation with the owner of one of our local newspapers, and he told me that he wouldn't support the tax because it was a regressive tax, and that essentially that would mean that if we got it in place, that would mean we wouldn't also come back and go up on property taxes at some point in the future. And I'm not stupid enough to try and sit here and tell you that there's not a chance property taxes can go up in addition to having an increase in the sales tax. But I said, we have indications from various sources, including the chamber, that the sales tax, the people that are paying sales taxes in Alamance County, about 40% of them are Alamance County residents, and about 60% are from other parts of the state or traveling through from other states. And when you go to Tanger or you go to Alamance Crossing and you look at the license plates, I can confirm some of that for you. He said he thought it was only 25%. I said, well, if it's only 25%, would you not like 25% of our taxes being paid by people who don't live here? Folks, we had it designated at that point in time for schools, for the cost of paying the bonds. You can't get much more pointed in where it was supposed to go than that. Other issue is the zoning issue. It comes up over and over and over again. We get told by many, many people they don't want zoning. And most of the people, I would venture that a lot of the people that are facing issues right now have also opposed zoning until it landed right in their backyard. I don't know, because they haven't come and told us. The ones who have been opposed to it. As was stated earlier, you don't want zoning until you want zoning. We're one of 12 counties in the state, the only county in the Piedmont, to my knowledge, that at least in the 5 counties that surround us, that doesn't have zoning. But if people don't want it, it doesn't behoove us to try and pass it. We are looking at revisiting some items in the Hido and Udo that were brought up last year, taking a look at those in the upcoming months. And we'll see what, if anything, we can do that might help. Your situation and your location, I'm hoping the state can do something about it. That will never even land on our desk because it goes to the technical review committee, then the planning board. The state's going to pass, will be the one that gives it the option or approves it. Am I correct?
It does not go to the planning board. It just goes to the.
Oh, just the TRC, okay. So we won't see it. So nothing we can do for that. Thank you.
Commissioner Priola?
The problem isn't that we're taxed too much. The problem is that we spend too much. I think we're looking at this from the wrong angle. What we have in terms of taxes ought to be more than sufficient. And we can discuss that a little later on when we talk about the property and revenue tax proclamation that we're being asked to support. The problem is statewide, including Alamance County, as we spend 10 to 15% more than the rate of growth of the population and the rate of inflation over the past decade. There are several studies that have come out to exhibit that conclusion. So my feeling is that we need to consider the cumulative impact of any tax increase on our citizens who are being driven out of their homes. This term about affordability is very important right now. It's a little bit here, a little bit there, and as soon as you know, as the joke goes, we're talking about real money and people being able to make choices between food and medicine and the mortgage. So I'm steadfastly opposed any tax increase. I think we need to look at quite seriously, and I don't think we've done that over the years, at reducing the cost of government and the total burden on citizens. I think we also need to take into account what we've heard this morning about development, and we need to have a serious look at the planning of the way we proceed with balance and life balance in construction and development across the county. There are ways of doing it without embracing zoning and a new level of bureaucracy in the county. Everything looks like a nail if all you've got is a hammer. I think we can accomplish the same level of balance but through ordinance and through careful planning along the same line. Now, some places, I'll admit that districts start to look like zones, and zones start to look like districts. It's the nature of the bureaucracy that comes with the plan that I'm concerned with. And I'm sure we'll have a whole lot more. I'd like to hear from the folks with the new development in that area. I didn't have the opportunity to meet last week, but I will in the future and as we move forward. Thank you.
Thank you. Next is the consent agenda approval, and I'll take a motion to approve.
Motion to approve.
Second.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Okay. So next, we have the county attorney's report.
Good morning, board. Nothing from me today. Thank you.
Thank you. County manager?
Two quick items. The third quarter financial report is in your packet. If you have questions about that, Susan or I can try to help you with those. And I also wanted to announce that May is National Foster Care Month. It's an opportunity for us to recognize and thank foster families in our community who are providing care, stability, and support to children in need. These families are playing a critical role in helping children heal, grow, and stay connected to their communities. We have a continuous need for strong foster families and parents, particularly for our teens and sibling groups. We're grateful for the commitment of the caregivers that we have and the positive impact that they make on children in our community every day. Thank you for your support of DSS and for foster care families.
Thank you.
That's all I had. Thanks.
Okay. And now we have commissioners' comments. So we'll start with you, Mr. Priola.
Wow.
Commissioner Priola.
Did we go through the whole thing already?
Yeah.
What happened to What happened to
You
second?
can say done in one, Ned.
Yeah.
That's done and nothing. I'm exhausted. No comments here.
Okay.
I've done
Commissioner
one,
Ford. Okay.
or one and done.
All right. And the one thing I'm going to bring up is we started signing up to speak online during COVID. And so you have to be here in person to speak. And at our last meeting or meeting before last, Officer, I'm getting ready to say your first name, Jackie Fortner, had to go to the overcrowd room and call people, and 4 who had signed up were not here. So we spent a lot of time calling them, waiting on them, giving them a chance to get in here. So from now on, if you want to speak in the public, we're going to put it back like it was. And like I've discussed with a lot of towns, they do the same thing. You need to sign up when you get here because you have to be in person to speak. And so that will be one change that's going to be coming back. We're going to take that off because we're no longer in COVID. That's all. Commissioner Howell?
Can we ask a question?
Sure.
I was just wondering if we could get an update on where we are with the sales tax.
Yeah.
From last year compared to this year.
Yes, we just sent out an email with that.
Yes. I saw the email and
Would you like
it
us?
was a bit confusing. It talked about this month year, but I'm saying for the whole year.
Yes, it should have both in there, but we do provide that on a monthly basis to show how it compares to the
Right.
previous year. Do you want to talk about it now, or do you want to send out something different?
Yeah, I can speak on it. Let me pull up the email I sent you all last week. Bear with me just a second. Here we go.
Looked like it was up slightly.
It is.
It is
Well,
up.
for the month it was up, but it looked like for the year.
Yeah, so the email that I send out to you all each month gives a comparison, first of all, to where we are collections for the month of May 2026 through the month of May 2025. So when we look at that, the county had experienced a 9.32% increase from May of 2025 to May of 2026. That's higher than the statewide average, which was 4.51. A lot of that deals with the retail centers that we have within Alamance County. So that's one reason why when we talk about sales tax, I talk about how volatile it really is, because when the consumers are out purchasing, yes, we're going to see an influx and an increase in our sales tax percentages that we have received. When those same consumers decide that they're not going to go spend any extra disposable income, then we see a sharper decline than the rest of the state does when it comes to those averages. When we look at our year-to-date change, we're looking at a percent change of 6.89% when we compare to where we were with year-to-date collections in May of 2025.
So that's an increase, 6.89 for the year.
Yes.
But if you look at the graphs each month,
Mhm.
almost every one of them, it looks like we're lower this year over what we were last year. I was just looking at the graph, it didn't look like we'd be ahead.
So the straight line that you see
Yeah.
is looking at our budget, and that's just looking at if we were to collect sales tax at a 1/12 of what we budgeted. So you can see the kind of the ebbs and flows that happen. We see upticks normally in the month of August. A lot of that is due to Elon settling in new students. Then we also see that uptick then around November, December, and January because those are reflecting holiday sales. So we see upticks, and then you'll see where we're not quite meeting budget each month because even within the month of March, when we're looking at those collections of, yes, there are higher percentages, we're still about $500,000 below if we were to collect that on a 1/12 payment. So that's why you'll see the ebbs and flows within that cycle.
So, but for the year.
For the year, we're
We're
now,
at an increase.
we're at an increase
Which
of,
is slightly higher than the state average.
yes. Yes, sir.
Thank you.
Madam
Rick.
Chairman, I can sort of comment on that.
Okay.
I've observed this process now for a number of years, and one thought I have about the difference in the ebb and flow of sales tax revenue, and in particular in this last couple of years, it's been the impact of inflation. And as the cost of goods have gone up, people are spending more money on groceries and gas. So they're spending less money on replacing household items, clothing, things of that nature, which would bring the sales tax revenue up for the county. So we're seeing less of that.
Okay. All right.
Chair, excuse me. I do have a comment. And my apologies for not being sufficiently caffeinated this morning. I did not recognize that item 7B on the consent agenda regarding the opposing property tax modification. I was thinking that was on the regular agenda. So again, my apologies for missing that. But I do want to state my objection to that resolution. I'm not in favor of it. Not in favor of this resolution in opposing the state resolution. I think we need guardrails on county government. There's good evidence, several studies that show that one in particular shows the top 10 counties in the state exceeded their needed revenue by between 10 and 15% over the past decade. That's 63% versus 51% for those 10 top counties population-wise in the state. And Alamance is parallel to that development. They didn't need, some of those counties, 15% of the revenue they collected at that top level of population counties. In fact, it amounted to something like $2.7 billion in excess of what was needed. So I'm in favor of state level guardrails to keep the spending and taxation with property taxes at the level sufficient to meet the rate of growth of population plus inflation. That's the combination that's being proposed. So I'm opposed, and I just wanted to go on record to this particular proclamation. Thank you.
And if I could finish my time.
Well, let me say one thing
I didn't
first.
realize I was interrupting. I apologize.
No, there you go.
Let me say one thing
Please.
before you get in there. The one thing about it is, I don't like that the state is gonna tell us. Are they gonna go to, Ossipee with 600 residents and look at their budget and look at their sales tax and look how much money they're spending and tell them what it needs to be? Are they gonna come here? Are they gonna go to Hall River? Are they gonna go to Saxby, Swepsonville? Every town, they're gonna send an auditor and then he's gonna look at it? And that's like they told us that we had to do our appraisals every 4 years. Now they want to put a moratorium on that after making it a law that we had to do it every 4 years. Now they're backing down on it. And that's just like they came out wanting to stop the ETJ. Well, you could have a really nice housing development and without the ETJ, you could put a junkyard, a car lot, wrecked cars, whatever, sitting right next to $700,000 and $800,000 houses. That's what we were elected for, is to hold the line on taxes. We're elected to check and look at everything. We are the stop, or we're the go. And I don't want the state coming in here and thinking they're gonna tell us what we can do with our tax rate. I'm sorry, I got on my soapbox.
If I can respond, we've been the go. We've been the go for a decade, and that's the problem. It's not only here in Alamance County, that's for sure, but we've been the go, and it's been in excess of what was needed if you consider the rate of population growth and the rate of inflation.
Well,
It's been far in excess, especially when you consider the COVID money.
When we get to budget, we'll have time to discuss all of that and where everybody's at this time. But I do not think the state and state legislators know Alamance County personally, Ossipee personally, Hall River personally, Mebane. And I just think that's up to us to decide and for us to either vote against or for. That's just my opinion. Go ahead. I'm sorry I interrupted you, Commissioner Powell.
No, it's completely.
You interrupted my interruption.
And I interrupted his interruption.
I like to see the enthusiastic response. I just feel like government is best at the local level, you know, and as you get higher and higher at the state and federal, you're away from the people and you don't get all the interaction that we do. So, I don't believe in talking about that. What I've been looking for a guardrail since I got on the commissioner board, and I've discovered that we really don't have a guardrail, that it's really up to the commissioners to set that property tax rate. And we have to evaluate all the information that we get and then make a decision on that. And that all the counties and the cities are different. We're all having different issues, and a one-size-fits-all deal is, in my opinion, not going to work very well, and has one unintended consequence that I worry about, and that is that if somebody outside starts to regulate what we're doing with taxes and saying we're going to limit you to what you can set your tax rate at, the tendency then is for each county to get ahead of the situation and raise taxes they don't really need to raise to avoid being caught in a crunch later. And I think what it would end up doing is costing the taxpayers a lot of money that is unnecessary to spend. And so I have a tendency to not want to see that happen. So I voted the way I did.
Might I add one more comment?
Let's let Commissioner Thompson.
Have y'all ever seen me?
We've had our
Then
3
we'll go around
minutes.
again.
We've had our 3 minutes.
Look how quiet I am.
I
Look
know.
at that. Well, first of all, I'm going. I was in DC, 3 weeks ago, could not find a congressman because evidently they don't have anything to do and they can go to Disney World or anywhere they want to. Not buying it. I have something about the protest Friday. I understand why teachers went down there if that's what they want to do, but I encourage all teachers when you go somewhere to really be careful with who is also walking with you that might not give a flip about education, and they're there to be seen with a giant poster or a piñata or wanting to kill somebody, 86, whatever it's called. It's very disappointing because, my daughter's a teacher, she's in her classroom. And, but when you get yourself around stuff like that, you have association, and people will turn on you. And the last thing you need is for people to turn on you. You need people to support you. So I know why you went, and I totally respect that, because we all have a right to do that. But your General Assembly wasn't there, and that's the heartbreak of it. And timing is everything. So I just want to encourage the school system that I support, life and death, to be really careful with when you go and who you're standing near, because this world can't wait to judge you for anything, to find an excuse of something wrong with you so they don't have to support you. And I just, we just have to be really careful of that. And Steve and I were at church yesterday, and we had a baby dedication. We had one, itty bitty, slept through the whole thing, and then the other one just stared like, who are these people? And my pastor was talking about, it's not just dedicating the baby to Jesus, but it's the family and the congregations dedicating themselves to stand by those families. Because our children are our very future. And I looked at those two little ones, and I thought, I'm 67, my kids are 28, 31, and 35. And I've got really great people who happen to be my children. I put everything into them. But they've never had a drug-infested home. They've never been abused. Shake them. But, stuff like that. But not every kid can say that. And I know for a fact that the school is the best part of a family that many children have. I've said this many times when COVID was going on. God, I thought some kids are not going to eat. What are they going to do? Because they got breakfast and lunch from the school system, and a lot of times took stuff home. And we all have to realize that everybody doesn't have the Brady Bunch family or a perfect situation. But that's also up to a family. Schools aren't meant to raise your children, and teachers are many times that parent, and that's not what they work for. They work to educate your kid to become something amazing. And I think every kid deserves that opportunity, no matter what that path is, no matter what school they're going to. Because private, Christian, charter, public, Montessori, whatever, parents, if you show up, your kid does their part, and the teacher leads them, it's a perfect situation. And but it always has to come down to money, seems like. But I just think we as leaders, we as parents, we need to make sure that we always keep them in mind, because they deserve. We talk about, well, it wasn't like that when I was growing up, right? But there's always been trouble. Adam and Eve, Cain and Abel, started from the beginning. But I'm just saying, we've got to really do right by our children, because these seats are temporary. And we really want to, as leaders, the number one goal of a Sunday school teacher is to create the next Sunday school teacher, because you don't own the seat. Nobody owns the seat. And you don't want to, because you want to keep creating the next generation to take you even further and better. So I just hope that we'll just always realize that school is not the enemy, commissioner is not the enemy, but I don't want anybody in Raleigh telling me what to do with Alamance County's money when they can't even set their own flipping budget. So I'm really sorry about that. And I know this property tax, and Ed, I respect how you feel about that. I understand it. But don't be doing these things because there's an election. And people don't be falling for these things, because right now you're going to hear whatever you want to hear. And I just, I don't tolerate that, either be one way or the other, and stand by that. And sometimes you got to make hard decisions, and you can't make them for a vote. You got to make them for what is right. And that's part of being a leader. My pastor used to always say, don't email me, because I'll never email you back. And I mean, it's tough. It's just really tough. But Alamance County is worth everything that we can do to make Alamance County great, because I want my county to be the ultimate example for every other 99 counties in this state. And whatever that is, and we're farmland, we're business, but we have to have balance, and we have to work together as neighbors. And we got enough division in this country already for what's going on. We got to get this right. We have to get this right. But I saw those babies yesterday at church, and I thought, I'm just as responsible for them as everybody else, and I need to be there for them, because people were there for us. That's how it works, and that's how we can't forget that's how it works. So We got a lot on our plates and we just have to do it right. Because right is right. Not sorta, kinda, it's just right.
Thank you. You really need to make another statement because you've had your 3 minutes.
It won't take but a minute. The state mandates so much of what we have to spend. Statutorily, we're required to provide courts, we're required to provide jails, the sheriff's office, DSA, I mean, the list is long. Federal government pushes expenses down on us. So the last thing we need is everybody pushing stuff down on us and telling us what we have to spend and what we have to provide. And then at that level, coming back and telling us, putting restrictions on how we have to raise the money to do it. So we only really have two. I mean, we have other resources, grants and so forth, but our two primary sources of revenue are sales tax and property tax. The only really dependable source of revenue for the county is the property tax. As we saw last year, our sales tax revenue tanked, and it hurt us budget-wise. We've got to be careful about what we ask for, what we want, because if we get it, we might not like it. And that goes for a lot of different things that come before us each day.
Thank you. I'll accept a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Second.
Second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. We are adjourned.
Thank you for watching the Alamance County Commissioners Meeting. Commissioner meetings typically occur on the first and third Monday of each month in the Commissioners Meeting Room in the County Office Building at 124 West Elm Street in Graham. The first Monday meeting begins at 9:30 a.m. and the third Monday meeting begins at 6:30 p.m. Changes to the meeting schedule will be posted on the county website at alamancecounty.nc.gov. This meeting will be broadcast on LocalGov TV. Please go to www.localgovtvnc.com for more information about their schedule and to see more videos produced by your local governments. You can also access this meeting through our YouTube channel at www.youtube.com/Alamance County NC or by clicking the YouTube link on the county website. Technical questions regarding this broadcast or production may be sent to our county webmaster via email at webmaster@alamancecounty.nc.gov. This address is for technical questions only. Comments and questions about the content of this meeting may be made to the commissioners themselves. You can find their contact information at the Alamance County website at commissioners.alamancecounty.nc.gov. There, you can learn more about the commissioners' duties, read minutes and agendas of commissioner meetings, and find other information about the county commissioners. You can also send mail correspondence to County Commissioners, 124 West Elm Street, Graham, North Carolina, 27253. Again, thank you for watching the Alamance County Commissioners Meeting. Thanks for tuning in. If you're watching on YouTube, be sure to hit the subscribe button to stay up to date on all of our latest video content. If you're watching on LocalGov TV, be sure to visit their website to see all of the content made for you by your local governments.